Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is Monday, March 4th, and you are here for a little rock talk today. How is everybody? Did you have a good weekend? My weekend was insane. I went to go see a concert that pretty much knocked me out and made me realize, oh yeah, this is some next level stuff. And what I did was I went to go see Neal Schon's Journey Through Time. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically Neal Schon playing Journey stuff from around 73 to about 81, I guess. And I can't even really comprehend how great it was. I'm still digesting it, what this show was like. And it really reminded me like, oh yeah, this is what rock shows used to be like. This is full-blown organic rock and roll played by real musicians, just killing it. No fire, no bombs, no confetti. Just guys up there singing and rocking. And it made me smile many, many times. I got goosebumps. I was kind of teary-eyed sometimes, losing my mind at just how great it was. And especially coming from the Bay Area, I was not ready for what emotions it conjured up. It just reminded me so much of growing up in the Bay and FM radio and my first 20 concerts. And me being completely proud to think this band, these musicians, Journey, were from the Bay. And how cool San Francisco used to be. The melting pot of music. And made me so proud and happy that I grew up in the Bay Area, because I think my music taste is 100% where it's at from growing up in the Bay Area. And to think about the first time I saw Journey was in 1978 at Day on the Green 5 in September of 78. And the bill was Cheap Trick, AC/DC, Journey, Blue Oyster Cult, Ted Nugent. And I still listen to all those bands to this day, nonstop. And it's just funny to be here. I am at 53 years old and go downtown LA on Saturday night and watch some of my idols and legends just destroy it, and then sit down and talk to me. It was just one of the highlights of Let There Be Talk. My guests today are Neal Schon Gregg Rolie, two-time Rock and Roll Hall of Famers from Santana and Journey, and then one of my old friends, Deen Castronovo, who set this whole thing up, and many years ago got my band the opening position for Bad English at the Warfield. So it's, once again, rock and roll and friendship have come together and just made this happen. And I got to thank Dean over and over. And also my good buddy Steve Rose, excellent photographer who's out on the tour. And I got to thank Neal and Gregg. Those guys, just to sit down and talk to them. I only got an hour because I got it after sound check. But to sit down and talk to them, I could have done a week with each guy. And I'm hopefully going to have them back on separately, all three of these guys, and really dig into their careers. It's to have some legends on for an hour. I was just jonesing, like, God, can we talk 3 more hours? But I was lucky enough to have him for an hour, and I can't thank him enough. And I've got to tell you guys, go back and listen to the first 3 Journey records. I'm not talking about the 80s stuff. That's great. They got hits and they're legends, but I'm talking about early Journey. I'm talking about the stuff that no one knows about. Journey Next. I've many times have posted up these vinyls on my record of the day, and just trying to get it out there. And then Infinity, which I think is the all-time greatest Journey record and one of the all-time greatest 70s records, hands down. There's some really pivotal records in the 70s. Van Halen 1, Journey Infinity, the first Boston record. These are records you put on, and over you just go, wow, these are classic FM rock and roll records. Steely Dan, stuff that just, it's like ear candy. It's absolute ear candy. And you forget that humans played instruments and recorded that music. It's that good. And that's what reminded me of it Saturday night. Like, oh man, these guys can fucking play and sing and arrange and write songs and put on a concert. The way the set list went, that's a magical art form, set list. And this thing was stellar. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. It sounds a little weird because we were in a kind of an empty dressing room, just to give you a heads up, but it's 100% kick-ass. Before I do get into the episode, I want to give a shout-out to all the new Patreoners. Michael Tyrell, love you, Michael Tyrell. William Orichia. Richard Sheltinga. Ryan Sampson. Mark Brunot, the mayor of the Del Raisers. My good buddy Steve McDonald. Hello, brother. Raphael Zentel. Power hitters. These guys are power hitters. And Aaron. Just Aaron. Upped his game. I can't thank you guys enough. If you want bonus episodes of Let There Be Talk and photos and kind of cool stuff, I'm getting it together there. Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey for all your bonus episodes. Upcoming shows, Houston this week with Joey Diaz and I at the Improv, March 7, 8, and 9. Comedy Castle in Detroit, April 11th through the 14th. Las Vegas Comedy Cellar at the Rio Hotel, April 29th through May 5th. And the Pabst Theater, 420 with the great Joey Diaz. June 21, 22, 23 coming back to you at La Jolla Comedy Store. Tickets available all at DeanDelRey.com. Get those tickets. Come see me. And also this episode is brought to you by this amazing sponsor right here, Keeps. Losing your hair sucks. 2 out of 3 guys will experience hair loss by the time they're 35. I'm introducing you to Keeps, Del Raisers. Keep that hair you got. The easiest and most affordable way to keep the hair you have. FDA-approved products used to cost a fortune, but not now. Thanks to Keeps, they're finally inexpensive and easy to get for 5 minutes now, starting at just $10 per month. You'll never worry about hair loss again. To receive your first month of treatment for free, free, Del Raisers, go to keeps.com/Delray. That's Keeps, KEEPS.com/Delray. A free month of treatment, and keep.com/Delray will hook you up. Keeps is the service that helps provide access to FDA-regulated medications. So, get on this stuff, people. Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. Go get it, people. Help out the podcast. Help out your hairline. Help out your love life, your single life, your job confidence life, whatever. Help yourself out with perfect hair. go to keeps.com/Delray. All right, I think that's about it. I love all you guys. Enjoy this episode. Long live Brody Stevens. I love you, buddy. Here we go. Neal Schon, Gregg Rolie, Deen Castronovo, Journey Through Time. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. This is an incredible day right here. Everybody introduce yourselves.
Deen Castronovo.
Gregg Rolie.
Neal Schon.
That's
We meet again.
That's it, right?
We meet
That
again,
was
brother.
it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
How was that, Dean?
We did well.
I just watched Soundcheck and I'm floored. I first saw Journey, Dan the Green 5, 1978, September 2nd. It was Cheap Trick, AC/DC, Journey, Blue Oyster Cult, and Ted Nugent.
I remember it.
Yeah.
Actually,
really?
I remember it. And I think I was wearing a Ted Nugent t-shirt.
I sent you a photo of Steve. He's wearing like a green kind of blouse, and he's just on the side of the stage. I took some shitty photos, but it was the jungle stage,
Right.
and that was my first introduction to Journey. And from then on, I've been on board. But that, of course, is the Infinity record. Had been out about 6 months. And it's just been a game changer with me, the Infinity record. It's unbelievable. And from there, of course, I went back to the first 3 records and was floored that no one ever talked about those records. And here we are, and you guys are doing this.
Yeah, we're going to do something about that.
Let's talk.
We are doing something about it.
Yes, we are.
If that band, if the original band had been put together now,
Yeah.
or even 5 years ago, it would be in the jam band circuit.
Oh, absolutely.
It would have been, and that's what we did. And so here we are doing it again. Because time has changed. I really believe it's all coming around anyway.
It's really wild again. Last night, La-Di-Da Day, right?
Yeah.
We played that, and we started really like just jamming. And suggested doing the Jack Johnson, Miles Davis bass line.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that, and you see the reaction from
Yes.
the audience
They go
last
nuts.
night. The more out I go, the more they like it. And they're like, they roared, they got up, they stood up there. I was like, wow. Too bad it couldn't have been for us like that in the very beginning.
Yeah.
But now they're ready for it, and so it's a great time to have it reborn again,
It's funny when you listen to even the first record, the first Journey record, when you listen to it, it's really the blueprint really of Infinity. There's an Infinity sound in there. So even on that first record, you already had the sound of what was going to be massive. But just not of course, the big hits, but it was the same kind of flavor.
Infinity to me is like the gem of all our
Yeah.
records, even though the greatest hits is the one that everybody pushes, at the label, or has in the past. I think we're going to change a lot, though, and to me, Infinity was the best of the old and the best with the addition of Steve.
Yeah,
where it was still
I agree.
musical.
It completely. We started writing for vocals more than writing for solos. Always a song, but the identity changed to doing vocals, which I dug it because I was playing 4 keyboards, harmonica, lead vocals. Back. I was kind of loaded up.
I'm trying to get him to play harmonica again. He goes, I'm going to bust a nut, man.
No. What are you talking about? When I say I'll blow an O-ring, man. O-ring on a transmission, it's over.
Yeah, you ain't shifting gears. Now, here's something as I dug in years later, found out that Fleischer, I never even knew that he was joined right after the next record and did that tour, or some of the dates. I had no idea on that, and that he wrote Wheel in the Sky and stuff.
Actually, you know what? Where Wheel came from was we were taking one of our long ass drives, you know, with Mr. Ainsley Dunbar at the wheel.
Oh, God.
And Greg was like going, Ainsley, you better pull over right now. I got to piss. And he's like, sorry, mate.
Talking
Get
straight
there.
around it.
Right? And he has Fuzzbuster in his ear, and he's like got his hands glued on the wheel. And Greg goes, Ainsley, I'm serious. Pull over now. Sorry, mate. And he goes, Ainsley, if you don't pull over, I'm going to piss all over you.
Piss down your neck.
So we pulled over.
Yeah.
We pulled over, and while everybody was taking a break, I pulled out an acoustic guitar, and I started playing the chorus, and I came up with the chorus from some lyrics that Ross's wife at the time, Diane, had come up with, and she had this lyric. Out of all of them, it was kind of like a poem, and she had "Wheels Are Turning on My Mind." So I like, you know, just kind of hummed the chorus that I came with, "Wheel in the Sky Keeps on Turning. Don't know where I'll be tomorrow." And then Robert kind of took from there. He was an excellent lyricist, and he wrote, you know, he helped with "Anytime,"
Yeah, Winds of March.
"Winds of March." Great lyricist.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys bring in Steve, which, by the way, I want to get to Dean, who sounds unbelievable.
Thank you, man.
I think Herbie brought him around, or I don't know how that went down, but now you audition Robert, and then he doesn't make it, he's out, and then do you audition other singers at the time in the Bay Area, or just Steve?
You know, it went down. You know what? The way the story really goes is like, it wasn't Herbie that actually, I had met Perry before through Jackie Villanueva.
Yeah.
And I did a one-off record and a one-off gig with a band called Azteca, which was like a not a very good spin-off of Santana.
Yeah.
Right? And so they asked me to play one gig. I did it at the Kabuki Theater. Jackie brought Steve, right? And at the end of the gig, he introduced me to him, and he says, we give, this is my cousin's friend, we give him a ride to his car. And I said, sure, you know. So I loaded up my gear, and I gave Perry a ride to his car, and that was that. Then we went, then we proceeded, I never talked to him again. Then we were down in LA, and here, and we played the Whiskey, or Whiskey A Go-Go.
Yeah, I bet it was.
And we're backstage, and it was still just Greg, myself, Ainsley, and Ross. Okay?
Yeah.
Steve comes backstage, and he goes, hey, man, you remember me? I'm a singer. You know, and I go, yeah, we're not looking for a singer, man, but it's great to see you.
Oh, you weren't looking for a singer? Like Fleischman was gone, and you did
No,
the
this
band?
was prior to
Before that?
Fleischman, yeah.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, and so then many years later, we had tried Robert out, and our manager at the time really didn't like Robert, and neither did our road manager, Pat Morrow, because they wanted, if Robert wanted them to carry his bags around.
Oh, it's called rock star mode. He was unknown, huh?
That wasn't going to fly.
Herbie was like, fuck that, he's out of here.
That sounded like him.
I look at the two of you and my head just fucking falls off because I grew up in the Bay Area and I always felt that Journey was just this monumental, as much as the Grateful Dead or Metallica, was the Bay Area sound to me. There's no one really that was as big of an impact as Journey. Everything with Bill Graham, the Bammies, all the venues, everything. And I think back to like all the way back to Santana, like you play on Santana 3 and you're like what, 15, 16?
Yeah, just turning 16. Yeah.
So I read that you turned down an offer to play with Clapton. Is this real? Because what I'm trying to figure out is how did people know about you in the Bay Area? Like you're 16.
Honestly, you know, I have to give like credit due where is due. And Jackie Villanueva, his brother John and Jackie worked for the Santana band. You can see them both in all the old photos, as well as Herbie that you would never recognize. He kind of looked like Pigpen back then with the tie-dyed overalls and long hair and beard. You know, I mean, all the old photos from Woodstock and stuff. You see Jackie and you see John Villanueva and two brothers. Jackie, I met down in the peninsula in San Mateo, and I was recording in a studio that these guys just cut their first record in.
Right.
Paul Curcio's.
Oh, wow.
Right?
So like what, 68, 69?
What was it?
It was, yeah, it had to be 69.
Wow, 69. That's insane. And you're just down there.
The guy was giving me some studio time and trying to sign me to a lifetime contract.
Oh, one of those.
He says, I'll get you a Corvette, kid, and some French clothes and stuff. And I was like, yeah, bitchin'.
French
And my
clothes,
dad,
Yeah, French clothes.
my dad at the time was like, no, you're not doing that. And I was so pissed off that I had to thank him profusely over and over again.
Yeah, grease ball comes to mind.
Yeah. Anyway, I was playing in there, and he was letting me have some free recording time. And Jackie, I met Jackie, and he came in there to pick up some equipment for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackie said, how about if I come pick you up like a couple times a week and bring you into the city and introduce you to all the club owners up and down Broadway, and Michael Bloomfield's old club, that Elvin Bishop had taken.
Matrix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And he introduced me to all the club owners, and even though I was underage, they let me go in the basement, and hang out. I said, don't drink water, don't drink anything. And when you get done playing, go back in the basement and go out the back door. And so that's what I did. And I kind of, Jackie would come pick me up every week. I'd tell my folks that I was, playing with some kids in a garage. And I'd be in the city up and down Broadway. And then we go to see Gabor Szabo, who wrote Gypsy Queen, right, at the end of Black Magic Woman. And I'm with Carlos and these guys, and we're at the El Matador on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're down in the basement, and I just met Gabor, and Carlos goes, okay, we're gonna go jam with him on stage. And I go, really? Okay. So he calls us up on stage, and I'm supposed to be at some kid's house playing, right? And I get out on stage, and I look in the front row, and it was my mom and dad.
What? They were there?
And their jaws were like on the ground.
Oh,
What is he doing here? And I had no clue that my dad and my mom were like big fans of Gabor Szabo.
Oh, my
So it was a trip. But that's I kind of circulated through just being seen and playing with Gregg a lot, and there's many other people that would let me play.
To be asked to play with Clapton is unbelievable. At the time, you're like 16, and he's, of course, the legend. Like, what role did he want you to play? Like rhythm guitar or something, or just come in?
No, he wanted me to play lead, man.
Is that right?
This was after Dwayne got in his motorcycle accident, and he was looking for somebody to replace him. And I didn't really play slide, but I guess he liked the way I played. But where we met him was interesting again. We're at Wally Hyder's.
Recording.
These guys were just prepping for a new record, and it was Abraxas finished.
Yeah, no. We were working on it. And he came in, he was playing in Oakland or Berkeley.
Berkeley Community.
Theater. And he came over and jammed with us. I have that somewhere.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, we're in the studio.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're jamming and we're working on the riff that's in Batuka, right?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden the door opens, and Clapton walks through the door, and I'm like, am I like really stoned or what's going on?
Yeah. Clapton.
He sat down. I never even talked to him. I just, acknowledged him, and we started jamming for a couple hours. Then he got up and he says, I really got to get back to the hotel. I'm playing tomorrow, and I need to get to sleep. And so he took off, and I was like, wow, that's so insane that just happened. Yeah. And the next day, we went into the studio again. And in those days, they booked out the studio 24/7.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Just to make up songs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you
Because
know,
we were there 24/7.
Were you? Were you for real?
Well, we had reasons.
Oh yeah. You gotta love the powder days. I'm not afraid of the powder. I think it created some of the best rock and roll ever.
I'm glad it's gone.
but I got to the studio early, and there was a message from Clapton at the front desk with the secretary. It said, they just came in and he wants you to go over and jam with him at Berkeley. And I'm like, I don't have a car. I don't even remember who drove me. I didn't have a license, let alone a car. And so I managed to get over there somehow, and got there like about 5 or 10 minutes before they went on. And, knocked on the back door, and they opened it up, and everybody was there. And Eric goes, "Oh, great, you came." He goes, "Great." He goes, "We're going to go on stage. We're going to play about 6, 7 songs. And then I'm going to invite you as a really good friend of mine. And you just stay on and play the whole rest of the set." And I was like, this is insane. It's insane, And I knew all of his stuff, because I sat there with his records and dissected the Cream and, everything he had done. So I kind of knew his solos, some of them note for note. And sure enough, I jumped up on stage, he introduced me, and he just kept wanting me to play solos the whole night. He played some great stuff, though, that night. He was like on fire. Someone located a really crappy cassette recording of it, and I was like, wow, I don't sound that good, but he does.
Fuck. Let me ask you, Greg, you're the only guy I've ever had on the show that played Woodstock.
Yeah.
And not only did you guys play Woodstock, but it was a pretty monumental set. And one of the greatest sets of Woodstock. And that great story of the mescaline or acid, whatever Carlos is on, and he said the neck's like a snake and all that.
Yeah. And then he promised God he would never do it again.
That didn't work.
That didn't.
I love it, Greg. You were there, though. I mean, that is the most monumental concert of all time in America. There's nothing bigger than Woodstock ever. It's the blueprint of all the festivals, and you were there. It's just insane to think about. There you were at the biggest concert ever. Do you ever sit around and just like sit there and it comes to you like, wow, Woodstock?
No, I don't remember a thing.
That's how I love it. That's what they always say. If you said you've been to Woodstock and you remembered it, you weren't there.
You weren't there.
No, I just, I remember a lot about it. What I really remember, and I've told the story a lot, is we had to fly in because people were parking all over the highway.
Right.
And you couldn't drive in. So they flew us in helicopters, and Barry Emhoff, who used to work for Bill Graham, was with us, and he goes, look at down there, look at all these people. I looked down there, it looked like ants on a hill. I couldn't tell what a big deal, right? And we had played for 20 or 30,000 people in festivals, prior, during the summer. And so it didn't strike me. And then we got on stage, and it still was like okay, that's a lot of people, because past about 10,000 people, it's all brown hair and teeth.
Yep.
I mean, that's it. And so it's not scary. And then we played, and everything was great, and they put us on early. That's why he had taken a mescaline or whatever it was.
right.
And he had taken it thinking he'd be fine by the time we went on. They put us on earlier, and so that's what happened to him. And I was going, by the way, I was having a hard time tuning. What's going on, man? It's not normal.
Yeah.
And I didn't find out for a long time that that's what was going on.
You can't tell, though, from the set when you watch it.
Yeah.
No, I'm honest to God. I mean, Carlos, the whole band, Chapito, you, David, Michael Shreve.
Yeah.
Carlos was he looked like an electrified snake. He did.
That's how he felt.
He did, right? Coming out, and I seen the look many, many times after I joined you guys. No.
So anyway, what I really recall is that we played and all that stuff, and then I stayed to watch Sly and Family Stone, who did drive in, and that's why they took forever, and they were stunning.
Yeah.
That band was stunning. And we stayed, and then we drove out. And we drove out through 500,000 people. And when we did, that's when I went, man, if we had driven in, I would have been scared to death.
Oh.
That's a lot of people.
That's
But
insane.
from the stage, like, it's kind of nothing.
Who were your guys early in the day? Because to me, I really look at you as the top 3 greatest B3 rock and roll players of all time.
Wow, thank you.
And I truly believe that you are, in my eyes, totally underrated as far as a B3 player and a singer. But your sound is, if you look at everybody after you get into it, like Black Crowes, you know, that's heavy, heavy Gregg Rolie, Ed sound. And all these guys that went for the B3 sound, who were your guys early? Were you into, like, I mean, because Greg Allman was playing?
It was Jimmy Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And then past that, I'm really a frustrated guitarist because I can't play one at all.
Oh.
But I really like backing the guitar and making that scream. The thing is that, well, in my viewpoint, the reason why I have a different style is because I don't play as much as a lot of organ players do. And then it becomes an organ band, and I don't like them. I don't like organ bands.
Yeah.
I'd rather augment the guitar. I think for me, it's just, you know, it's more heartfelt for me because I'm frustrated and I can't do that. So there he is, and you know, and Carlos. I have never played with a shitty guitar player. Never.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Never.
Right? You play with the guitar gods.
Yeah, and so, but that's the point. It's not the organ. If there's too much of it, you know, sometimes I'm holding one note and it's enough, so that the rest of the band sounds the way it should to my ear. That's the trick. That's it.
Yeah, Ben Montenchon, and he said he really liked your playing, and he also loved Deep Purple, and that's why he would always go for that distorted sound of just like something through a Marshall, a Leslie through a Marshall.
Honest to God, when I hear Gregg sing and play organ, it sounds as much as like Santana that I identify with as Carlos does. You know, sometimes even more so.
Yeah.
I think 90% of the people think
his
that
voice
he is Santana.
His voice is so unique.
Yeah.
There's nobody that sounds like him. And he's got really, like, a lot of soul, man. And he plays in a very soulful, simplistic way, but very rhythmical. You know? It's always based on rhythm.
Well, true.
And the way he twists it around and holds on notes, he's the glue, man. He holds it all together so everybody else can go nuts, you know, for real.
That's the idea.
And if that wasn't there, I mean, what I experienced and what I learned from Gregg, you know, from all the years we played together, but especially when I was a kid and I walked and I joined their band for a second, I'd be in rehearsal and I'm watching what was going down in rehearsal, and I'm like, Gregg is the guy that knows what's going on here. He knows how to arrange. He's like, okay, you know, forget about that. Everybody's all over the place. In a map.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean it, man. Everybody's all over the room. Gregg's like, Jesus, you guys, come on, man. What the fuck? You know, come home. Forget about that. No, Carabello, shut up. Go back over here.
Herbie Herbert said if anybody didn't know that Gregg Rolie was running Santana, they were taking bad acid.
I'm just like floored whenever I hear you sing and play. And I mean, Infinity is such a big, big deal to me. That record in that era, it's just, it's beyond. When I was just watching Soundcheck just now, I go crazy to hear these tunes. And what really blows me away is Deen singing. I had no idea. Deen actually is the guy, when I was a kid in a band in the Bay Area, got my band to open for Bad English at the Warfield. And it was our first ever theater gig. We were kids, and we were opening for Bad English. So I had no idea that he sang like that ever.
You know what? He didn't either. and that's how the story goes. It's like, you know, we were down he was in Hun Sound, Dean
Yeah.
was,
Oh, yeah.
before we went into Bad English. And I was
Playing with
doing a
Tony
rehearsal,
McAlpine.
Yep.
like with a one-off gig. I can't even remember. It was with Smith and some other people. And I went down to pick up some equipment one day, and I heard this drummer through the wall just beating the shit out of the drums. And I go, man, who is that, you know? So I like opened the door, and I peeked my head in, and Dean, it was Dean, you know, and he came over and introduced himself, and I got his number. I go, give me your number, man. I want to start a band with you.
Yeah.
And at the time, he was playing with Tony McAlpine. So Tony probably hates me to this day.
It happens.
But,
all right,
but
yeah.
you know, he had so much talent, and you know, Dean was not singing in those days.
No.
And we got into Bad English. You know, I got a call from John and John Waite and John Kane and Ricky Phillips, and I was going to start a band with Dean from scratch. You know, and they wanted us to come down and check out the Bad English thing that was the Babies. You know, reunited with two different guys, and so I said, if I can bring the drummer, I'll come and check it out. Otherwise, I'm not interested. And so I went down with Dean, and we like slammed it, and bam, it was like, all of a sudden we're in the studio, we're doing background vocals, and we go out in the room, like to do some gang vocals, and I hear him next to me, and I'm like, dude, you can really fucking sing. I said, have you ever sung before? And he goes, no, not really.
It's insane though, because my question is, when you guys are looking for a singer after Steve, how come you didn't turn to him? Was it because the frontman aesthetics was gone, or what was it? I mean, because this guy, look, Arnell is great, and yeah, Jeff Scott Soto, but this guy, the enunciate that.
We didn't know, and I don't think Dean knew, if I'm correct, that he could do a full set and play drums.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing like all of Smith's
He's
stuff.
70%
Paisley
human.
stuff, and then he's singing, he's so ambidextrous,
Yeah.
And I've never seen anybody do what he does.
It's
No singing drummer.
It's insane, though.
It is insane.
How much he nails the Steve as far, and you're not tuned down or anything. You're playing him in the key, and he's nailing it.
And especially, all of it, but the R&B stuff is really scary.
Oh.
Like Walks Like a Lady, I listen to it and I go, man, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
That thing
Look,
is
I got
blowing
goosebumps.
me too.
Look at that,
man.
dude.
My hairs are standing up. He's like nailing it,
I always wanted to ask you this question. It was there was a guy in the Bay Area for a minute that played in the band, Atma.
Yeah.
What happened to that guy? He was in for like 2 weeks and then out, right? These kind of things come to
Well,
me.
he had a cool look, and then he had a cool looking drum set. Yeah. But, then there was Omar Hakim and there was Dean.
I always wanted to ask that. I always had to ask that question because it was so long ago. I was like, wow. Now,
He kind of was. He had a drum set where the first time I saw him, I was impressed. And then the more I listened, I thought he was okay.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as solid. But he definitely was, flamboyant.
Yeah.
And he had like a Jimi Hendrix type drum set that was just outside.
Yeah. Now, Dean, I've known you for years, and you played, of course, in Bad English, and then I haven't seen you in a long time, and you had some problems years ago, and you were out of Journey and stuff. I don't know how much you want to get into that, but how did that happen? Because I partied for a long time and stuff, and as an adult, I always wonder how people get into another realm of start partying at that key time.
For me, man, it was, I've been an addict for a long time, and the thing for me is when I go on the road, man, I tried my damnedest to bring my A game. It was like, I loved playing live so much that I wanted to be great, man. I just didn't want to screw it up. It was when I got home, and you got the leeches and the bloodsuckers and the drug addicts, and they all want to hang around the rock star, and I'm in a small town, so I'm the only quote-unquote rock star that they have ever seen, really.
Yeah.
So I got dug into it, man, and it was... It took me down hard, man. It bit me in the butt and knocked me right on it, and man, as horrible as it was, you know, not just losing the band, but the, you know, the things I did, you know, to my wife and the hell that broke loose, man. I'm grateful to this day that number one, I'm alive.
Yeah.
Number two, you know, my wife and I are still together. I'm sober, clean and sober, but I'm playing again, man. And you know, it doesn't discriminate. You know,
Nope.
Addiction don't discriminate. It'll take anybody, gas station attendant, the rock star, you know, the accountant. It doesn't care. And it took me, man. It just took me down. A lot of money and a lot of time on my hands, you know, and no accountability. You know,
Yeah.
with my wife, you know.
And combo.
But, you know, like
very
anybody
bad.
that's addicted to anything,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you have to be ready to want to do it yourself.
Yeah, you're
you
right.
You can go in a zillion,
You're right.
you know, like clinics, and it's like a Band-Aid, and, you know, you know, we'll put you away for 6 months, and 100,000 here, 150,000 here. And the second you get out to go do the same thing again,
Yeah.
it's like
You
a
gotta wanna
Band-Aid.
do it.
I'll tell you,
gotta wanna
man, jail scared me straight.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a jail cell. It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Seriously, 15 days in jail scared the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
And just like, no, what is this? I don't like this. This sucks. It was really bad, man. Really, really bad. And I'm grateful. You know, as horrible as it was, I'm grateful.
Oh,
and I'm grateful to be alive.
I'm so happy.
You know what?
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say about that. I don't know anybody in this business that didn't do something.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, and I don't care. I don't give a shit about it. You know, you are who you are, and sometimes you're better from the experience, and sometimes not. And it doesn't matter. He's here now, and I'm here. He's here.
Yeah.
It's like
I
we've
mean,
all done stuff.
It took
The
me
thing-
a long time to get my
Yeah.
shit together too, man.
The thing that
You know,
the
for
thing
real.
that comes to mind to me though about addictions of any kind. How would you like to be addicted to food?
Oh.
Now you can get rid of all the other stuff, but you gotta eat.
Yeah. Also, it's
can't
what people don't
imagine-
look down on.
Matter of fact, I'm kind of hungry.
People don't look, people
we
don't
gotta
look
go.
down on that. You know what I mean?
That's acceptable.
Yeah, you could turn into a garbage can, and people are just like, "Oh, you're eating too much," but they're never like, "Oh, we don't invite him over anymore." You know how he is when he eats. You know.
And alcohol, I mean, look,
Yeah.
it's socially acceptable.
Yeah.
People are okay with that. They got bars, they got all this stuff. You know, the drug addicts are the scourge of the freaking earth, you know?
Yeah.
So you see, you know, alcoholics, and even in treatment, when I was in treatment, they were, you know, like, oh, you're an alcoholic. And you go to AA meetings like, oh, this is an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. This is not Narcotics Anonymous. You shouldn't be in here. That because we're the scourge of the earth. You know what I mean?
Discrimination.
Yeah, it's totally like
Because we've got better lobbyists.
Yeah.
No shit, man.
Now, Greg, after, like, I haven't seen you playing for years. Were you not playing anymore? Because I remember I was doing a record, and I really wanted to have you play on the record, and it seemed like you weren't playing for a long time. Is that true, or were you just low-key?
No, I
in
started
it?
my own band. It's when
I remember the Storm.
No, yeah, I did that, and I did a Braxis pool with him, and we did all that stuff. And then I started my own band, and I did it for 12 years. And we played in what's called a soft ticket, where it's fairs and you know, city and county and state run things. They all ran out of money.
Oh, yeah.
And there went the gig. And in the meantime, I got a call from Ringo Starr, and I was always writing stuff. But it's funny how if you're not in the limelight, why you disappeared? Well, not really.
Yeah, we played with Ringo Starr. That's a Beatle.
Yeah.
And Steve Lukather.
Yeah. Steve
Yeah, I'm
Lukather,
playing
yeah.
with Lukather too. Became really good friends with him, and the band is phenomenal, and Ringo's great. And
What did he say
I've
about
been
you?
there 7 years now.
Said you're the find of the century. Ringo said that about
yeah.
you. You're
Oh,
the
man.
find of the century.
I believe that. I believe that. Like what a. I mean, that is the set. The two of you together, Neal and Gregg, is just. I mean, as soon as I saw the video clips, because I didn't see the independent gig. I've lived in LA for the last 20 years. And as soon as I saw the clips of that, I was like, because I went to the Journey show at Madison Square Garden like 6 months ago. But to me, this makes me fucking happy. I mean,
You're not alone, man.
but
I
I'm
swear to
saying-
God, we're finding out more and more every day. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm getting so much email from promoters right now from all over the world.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of really great offers, and it's really heating up, man.
It's like a
We
history.
started a fire, and it's like spreading.
It's a history lesson of Journey.
And
It really is.
And I said this the other night. I said, well, it must have been called Journey for a reason, because we're still doing it and we're still moving on. We're doing other things and not afraid of it. You know, the whole business has changed so much. You don't have to focus on the things you used to focus on. You get back to when I started, and with Santana, which was we played what we wanted to play.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think about 3.5 minutes song.
Yeah.
Don't bore me. Get to the chorus. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything
Give me a
got
hook.
so homogenized.
Yeah.
Like that for so many years, and driven by A&R guys at record labels that are getting like big paychecks, and we're all going, oh man, okay, if we have to, okay, but you know, it's not really what we're about. But there was a learning lesson.
But the
in it.
thing though, that,
You know,
that I loved,
lots to
man,
learn.
was you guys. I didn't know because I listened to the stuff with Perry on until I heard those 3 records. Was like, wow, how far ahead of their time they were. There were no bands doing that stuff. I mean, a couple, but nothing like that.
I always
it was
shouted out.
incredible.
That's what we thought.
Well, when you listen to that shit, man, it's like this is smoking prog rock.
Yeah.
And it's like, but even the hits on Infinity
Oh yeah.
are not your homogenized hits.
No, it wasn't yet.
Not
It was
at
the
all.
best of
They've
both
got
worlds,
that
yeah.
formula of, later Journey, monster hits, but they're kind of what you would call a radio hit and became people's blueprint.
They're monster hits, but also what you have to think about, Dean, is that you have a huge corporate scene now, okay? Whether it's Columbia or it's Sony,
Yeah.
paying big K, man, to make that a huge hit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's songs like Lights off of Infinity, right? That when we play that live, and I go, people light this place up, every person in the place takes out the phone and it lights up like a gigantic Christmas tree
Yeah.
every night.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest hits of the evening.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that shows me, and Wheel in the Sky, and all the stuff, those songs are just as big of hits. It's just that they got a number put behind them. Like
And a
this one
stuff.
went to number 2.
Yeah.
This
Bullet.
one went, and a bullet.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to me, it's a number.
Dude, the first song I ever learned, Journey songs, I was 11, bro.
Yeah.
And the first song I learned, I was with guys that were 24, 25 years old, and they brought me Infinity and said, here, learn this song, La Du Da. And since you haven't hit puberty yet, you should be able to sing it.
Yeah.
And those were the first songs, man. I was like, that's how I became a singing drummer. Were those songs. And that could have been a hit to me because it was so.
Oh,
it was
man.
like,
The playing on that, man. The playing is unbelievable.
You know what? Too, that was really
musicianship.
funny. It was our first record we did with Steve.
Yeah.
Roy Thomas Baker was producing.
The Queen
and
guy.
he said one day we recorded a lot of stuff that we had. And he said, we need a rocker. He says, we need, something up-tempo. And we need a rocker. And I go, okay. So I went home and I started messing around and I came back with the riff and bam, it was like, it just kind of fell out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Roy Thomas really crushed it on those 2 records for you guys. When you listen to those 2 records, they don't sound dated. There's no weird reverbs.
He
or
crushed the tape. Everything was in the red.
Oh, yes.
Honest to God, the way the needles looked,
Yeah.
they were pinned all the time. The only thing you saw was when there was a breath that would come back. It was so,
And it wasn't distorted
the tape
to
was
tape?
so
He'd constantly look at the needles, and if it wasn't pinned, he'd tell Jeff Workman, hit it harder.
tape compression beyond compare.
I love the days of tape. I mean, when you listen to those records, it is the definition of analog recording. You just put it on, like I got it on vinyl. You stick it on, and it comes on, and it's like, wow.
And then check it out,
Yeah.
okay? He made some people really crazy. It's an amazing sounding record on the radio, okay?
Yeah.
With the over-compressed, and then the radio's got 5 or 6 compressors on it too. So it's like, it's in your face. There's no breathing anywhere, and there's tons of high end. And what Roy Thomas Baker did that made everybody crazy is he took an oral exciter that you usually only put on vocals,
Yeah.
and he ran it across the whole mix.
Really?
Yeah.
And I remember Steve was going nuts, and Herbie was going nuts, and everybody's like, what is going on, man?
We had to go back. I went with Steve Steve and I went down to L.A. to
Cherokee.
remaster it, and what we had to do is put it all together from the original mix, and then go master it. And we went to this Kendon Recorders that was a master lab, and we went there and we put on Boston because
another great
it sounded great everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I said, we got to match this to that. It won't be perfect, but it'll be in the realm, and we'll be good on the radio. Everything will be good. And so then we did that, and we went back to Lynette, Mark Lynette,
Right.
our mixer, sound guy live, right, and went to his apartment and listened on his stereo, and I said, this isn't right. And they started messing with the treble
Yeah.
and the bass. Said, no, see, it's fine. I said, no, we're A-Bing, A and B, orange to orange, not orange to. And we did this twice, and I finally went, fuck this. I went and told the guys at Kendon, I said, you hear this record? And put on Boston. They go, yeah, this doesn't sound right. I said, it sounds great everywhere but here. Make ours sound as shitty as this.
Please.
That's what happened. And that was, we were up all night doing that. We flew back. I mean, it was all night. We had to get it done. And that's how that happened. And that's the final master.
That's incredible, man.
Because you put an oral exciter on the whole damn thing.
Unbelievable.
It was just like sizzling. There was no.
And you know, something that I just discovered the other day is that when he came to record us, he had that wasn't a 42-track recorder,
Stevens.
right? That Roy carried with him. It was a little miniature, went in an amble case, right?
Wow.
About a quarter of the size of a Studer or whatever we were using before, but it was he pretty much took credit for all the multi-tracking in
Oh, yeah,
Queen.
you were telling me.
When I saw the movie, like just recently, a few weeks ago on an airplane, coming back from the East Coast, I watched it with my wife, and it was actually in the movie, if the movie's correct, right? I don't know if it is, but if the movie's correct, it was Freddie Mercury that had the idea of multi-tracking all the vocals, because it's
Yeah, I
showing
saw
him
that, 'cause he's like,
with
now
a
bounce it,
reel, and he
do it,
goes,
yeah.
go back again, sing it again.
Yeah.
And then he rolled the machine back by hand, then he goes, sing it again. Then he roll it back again, and then all of a sudden it was like a choir.
Yeah. They might have just been giving Freddie some more glory, which is all cool.
Oh no.
Let's talk a little bit about. There's a couple things I always wanted to ask you. One was that Bon Scott was thanked on I think it's the Departure record. Is that correct? But you guys opened for AC/DC on that If You Want Blood tour. What was that like? AC/DC being my favorite, and Bon Scott my ultimate. I got them tattooed on my side. Right?
Good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
They were so, for me, it was like, they were so electrifying.
Yeah.
That original band and the energy that came off them with Bon Scott was magical. And it was hypnotic, You can call it whatever you wanted, man, but it was just like, it was a wall of rhythm and fire and just attitude. There was nothing could ever follow that.
Yeah.
We had to follow.
Yeah.
Much later, when Smith was in the band, we had to follow them. And we
Were
were
they open
headlining.
for you?
They kicked our ass so bad. I swear to God, I was dreading it.
Smith came
Every
back.
time Herbie would tell us, you're going to have to follow ACD. I'm like, fuck, not again, man.
Smith came backstage and he opens the door and he goes, "You got to come and hear this." And I said, "Really?" And I went out there and went, "Holy shit!" I mean, it's the rhythm. It's right. It's Malcolm.
Malcolm. He's
It
the
was
machine.
Malcolm, man.
Yeah, he's the Gregg Rolie of that band.
He was the silent guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guitar parts, though, that they both worked out together are ingenious.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
Like what he didn't play
Yeah.
that made it like muscly,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And clean too.
Oh,
The rhythm
totally
sound
clean.
was like really chimey and tight and clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Great rhythm.
It's unbelievable.
Great drummer too.
Oh,
dude.
Phil
Everybody
Rudd.
thinks that's easy
Best
to one,
pocket on
two,
the planet, in my
one, two.
opinion.
Just not easy to make it feel like that.
No, that's
Touches him, man. Still, he's just. It's a pocket. It doesn't move. It doesn't shift, and it pounds you in the face. It's douche, gosh, douche. You know.
Oh, it's the best.
I mean, Bottom had an amazing pocket too, but not that kind of pocket. You know what I'm saying? Totally different.
Oh yeah, I
Totally
mean when
different.
Simon played in AC/DC,
Yeah.
and also what's his name from the Firm,
Chris.
Chris Slade.
Yes, Chris Slade.
All of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a different band.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
different band.
Yep.
Is it 7 o'clock? Holy crap.
Yeah, we got to get ready.
I gotta get ready here.
All right, two
Hey,
more.
good talking to you.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this! I'm gonna run.
Are you guys going out on the road at all after these dates?
Yes.
And what do you
Yeah.
got planned, real
We're
quick?
open.
Well, you know what? The dates they're starting to book already for the summer. Greg's going out with Ringo, like pretty soon, right?
April through April.
But
So
when
it's
he
May,
gets
June,
back,
July.
then
Yeah.
we're gonna.
Oh, I can't.
Rejoin and-
I can't
and-
wait for everybody to see this. It's smoking.
We can't wait for you to see this, man.
I can't wait to see it. Absolutely.
I'm
And-
actually really excited for it to evolve too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
really we have like so much history
Yeah.
that we could tap into. Not only the whole Journey catalog, but the
Santana 3.
or Santana 4 that we just did that never had a chance to
Yeah.
have any legs.
some
And with
songs
Marco
there.
Mendoza in the band, it's like, wow, the Latin stuff is off the hook.
That's smoking. Do you have one last question? Do you have any more of those Schon guitars? I always wanted one growing up. The Jackson made ones. They were selling them at our studio. They had two there, over there.
I think I
off
have
Francisco.
one.
Really, one?
That's it.
I got one.
Dean's
I still
got one.
You got one?
Yes,
What
I got
color
a gray
you
one.
got?
Gray. It's gray metallic with the Ferrari looking things on the tailpiece.
Oh yeah, that's the
They're useless,
tailpiece.
I got it for my birthday in Bad English. She gave it to me.
Oh,
Like nobody even. You're not supposed to look at it. It's
I
like
need one of
don't even
those,
look at it.
man. I want
What time do we play tonight, you guys?
Okay.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
We gotta
All right.
go.
Thank you
We
guys.
gotta go,
Dude,
Dino.
thank
All
you,
right,
Dean.
guys. Thank you so much for tuning
Thank
in to
you.
another episode. I'll let you. Thank you guys for
Thank
doing
you.
this.
All right.
Thank you. See you
That was
guys
awesome.
later.
To watch.